Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD.
It's JD. It's always JD, and it's always Michelle. Those are the two rules.
Yes, those are the rules. It's also Spooktober, Michelle.
It is Spooktober. It is the spooky season, and for the first Spooktober in the history of our show, we have to record our Spooktober episodes in October. We usually do them ahead of time, but we are terrible people, and now we have to actually do them in October.
Except the nice thing about that, though, is now it's not a lie when I do say it's Spooktober when we record these, because most of the time I'm lying, because it's actually not Spooktober.
It's usually June and July.
It's October 12th as we record this. Why are we obsessed with telling you? I have no fucking
one
idea.
Of us isn't.
One of us is,
we
though, to the degree that the other one has been drawn and caught up in it. So
that is 100% accurate. Okay, so we have been watching movies for Spooktober that are related to Halloween. And this is where I have to remind you, because this is JD's system, that he did intermingle family friendly, and he doesn't like me to say adult content because that does sound like Halloween porn, which would have been, that should be next Spooktober's theme, because I have a list. But it is like family friendly stuff that you'd enjoy with a grandma and a child. And then the other days, it's all the stuff that you would probably not watch with a grandma and a child. And he did work these backwards chronologically in their respective categories so that we can end on Halloween with Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the only Halloween that does not have the bad spooky guy.
I got the bad spooky guy. Jesus Christ, Michelle.
I've never seen it, by the way. I'm excited.
You've never seen Halloween 3? I've only seen it once, and I didn't see it until, I want to say, it wasn't last Halloween, but the Halloween before. So it's only 2 years ago that I finally saw Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and I've only seen it the one time. And so I'm definitely looking forward to doing that one. And I'm looking forward to that last week. There's so many, like, we're going to be doing, in fact, this might still be coming up this week. I don't have the schedule right in front of me, but we got Ernest Scared Stupid. We're going to do Spaced Invaders. We're going to do Night of the Demons. This is going to be rad.
There are 4 movies on that. No, 5 movies on that list I have not seen. All 5 next week I have not seen.
Awesome. Yeah. Night of the Demons is on there. Let's see. What is it? It's Night of the Demons, Ernest Scared Stupid, Spaced Invaders, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and what else?
It's one before Spaced Invaders.
Yeah,
we watched a very similar title.
I'm not trying to do them in order, Michelle. Trick or Treat. Yeah, okay.
Trick or Treat.
Classic 1980s heavy metal Halloween movie.
I did not know that. Wow, spoilers.
Oh, God damn it. You're right.
This week, though, is a lot of the stuff you had never seen, and I had, which was Murder Party, Hocus Pocus, The Halloween Tree, and Nightmare Before Christmas. So we're kind of like, these are done in chronological order, so it's a lot of like my movies this week and your movies next week, and that's pretty fun.
We hit Michelle's, I almost said nostalgia. It's like we hit Michelle's nostalgia first, and it's been...
Including today's episode. This is a nostalgia one.
House of... Are you out of your... This is nostalgic for you?
This movie had a big impact on me. We will get into it.
What is the movie,
I was only
Michelle?
14 when it came out. House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yes. Rob Zombie's
an impressionable age.
Feature film, House of 1,000 Corpses.
Not 10,000, not infinity.
House of... Everybody calls it House of 1,000 Corpses, but it just dawned on me when I brought it up the other day that that's not the title. The title is House of 1,000 Corpses.
Well, that depends. Some words are pronounced differently. Maybe we think 1,000 is pronounced differently based on if you're looking at it differently. Like bag and bag.
That says 1,000.
No, that's pronounced 1,000 in American.
Well,
That's a
anyway,
vernacular difference.
I am from now on going to refer to it as House of 1,000 Corpses, and you do whatever you would like.
Sweet, I already do.
My history with this movie is I was right at the right age, right? I would have been, because this was finally made it into theaters in what, 2003?
Correct.
Yeah, so I saw a teaser, and when I say a teaser, I mean there wasn't even any footage for the film yet. It was like a very old school 90s style teaser for House of 1,000 Corpses in, I want to say, January of 2001. And then there was all the rigmarole where he finally finished it, and the original studio, I think it was Universal, was like, "Oh man, we don't even want to send this to the ratings board because we're afraid it's going to be an NC-17 and we'll never be able to release it." Rob Zombie eventually got the rights back. They said, "We believe in the movie, we just can't do it." They gave it to him and said, "Go find somebody else." He found Lionsgate, and finally, in 2003, I was able to see what, honestly, at that time, in my mind, being a fan of horror films and also just being a fan of loud guitar music and Rob Zombie, I was so fucking stoked to see this movie. And when I tell you I was so disappointed in this movie that first time I saw it, what I mean is I haven't watched it again in the ensuing 21 years until we got here to see it. Now, Michelle, you said this is a very nostalgic film for you. Tell us a little about your history with House of 1,000 Corpses.
I can tell you exactly
I already
where
fucked
I
it
was.
Oh,
yeah.
I did an 1,000.
I can tell you exactly where I was sitting when I watched this movie because it had such an impression on me. I was at my grandma's, sitting on the couch on the left side. All the lights were off, and my Uncle Jeff was there laughing hysterically at all the gore and how upset I was about it. So I very much remember this. And I was like, oh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the scariest movie I've ever seen in my life. This is that, but newer. Great. So I really, really enjoyed it because at that time, gore that I had seen was minimal. I mean, like, I'd seen a lot of gore, but I hadn't seen a lot of
Hellraiser, didn't you?
Yeah, but I had not seen a lot of realistic gore.
Okay.
This was kind of like a step up from a lot of like the slashers that I was used to watching, and I don't know, Blair Witch Project, like the kind of stuff that I watched didn't have a lot of like gore in it. This was new to me because I think really only Texas Chainsaw Massacre was probably one of the few that at the time was truly gory in a way that was believable to me. Even though we know like things like the hook scene didn't even happen, but in my head, I remembered it. So yeah, this had an impression.
So
did it hold up? We'll find out.
That's the movie that we're talking about. House of 1,000 Corpses.
1,000 corpses.
Do we have a Descrippy script that we decided on? Oh yeah, I was gonna do this, wasn't I?
Yes, you were, but I also have it in front of me. So if you have gotten
I got it here. Let's see, where did it go? Yes, right here. 2003. And here it is. It says two young couples travel across the backwoods of Texas, searching for offbeat roadside attractions. And that's as far as I'm going to go. House of 1,000 Corpses, 2003, rated R, 1 hour, 29 minutes. Michelle.
Yeah.
Spoiler-free thoughts, please.
Spoiler-free thoughts? This had a huge impact on me as, I would even say, a child. I was 14 years old. I was too young to be watching this kind of stuff. And that was what made my uncle so cool, was that he showed me this kind of stuff. So yeah, this, like I said, very reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw Massacre for me. There's some stuff where it ramps up at the end that I did not see coming at all. And that in particular is what I found so upsetting. So the stuff that the majority of the movie is not about, at the end, it turns into a different movie. And that different movie Wow. Wowzers. At this point, it's like a nostalgic movie for me, but not like my favorite. Actually, this is a trilogy, and the second movie, Devil's Rejects, would be a 5 for me. That is a perfect movie. I love it. I think they were able to build upon what they had in the first movie. But this, it's still very good, and I still really like it. But the second one is so much better, and there are other things now. But this has a lot of credit on shaping what I would wind up enjoying in my horror films. So I do have to give it a lot of credit for that. I know Spooktober, I'm giving so many movies 4s and 5s, but that's because I put so many things on here that I wanted to see again.
Michelle, there's nothing wrong with that.
I know. I'm
celebrating Halloween.
Never. I hate Halloween. It is a satanic celebration.
End the show. Cut the feed.
I love House of 1,000 Corpses and Jesus. How do you not know this? I am horny for the Lord. Okay, so I am gonna give it a 4.5. It's based on my personal enjoyment. I have a lot of love for this movie. But it's not a 5 for me. 4.5 out of 5. House of 1,000 Corpses.
House of 1,000 Corpses, yes.
I am curious to know, because it was disappointing to you, how you felt rewatching this movie. Would you like to tell us?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You make a very, very excellent point, which is the last half hour of this is almost a completely different movie than the first hour. And unfortunately, different for you, and this is the same experience I had the first time. I, in fact, do not really enjoy a lot of the last part of it because it's such a dramatic shift in tone and style from the rest of the movie. It's such a dramatic shift that it's too jarring for me. And I'm really, so I still think about it the way I thought about it then, but I'm not nearly as upset about it because I've got 20 years behind me. There's not all this expectation involved with it. Looking back on it, there's a lot of this that I didn't even remember, having only seen it the one time. It's definitely a better movie than I gave it credit for at the time. I think it's still a flawed movie, but it's a much better first feature than I ever gave credit. And it's interesting that you bring up Devil's Rejects because I also think that's a better movie. And part of why I think it's a better movie is it is a more cohesive style and vision all the way through the movie. And so, yeah, so that part of it is a little bit problematic for me. But yeah, I enjoyed this a whole lot more the second time around after 20 years. I'm going to give this one a 3.75.
3.75, because you always got to make my math difficult. That's a 4.125 human skulls out of 5 on
4
average.
and an 8th.
4 and an 1/8, but we don't do mixed fractions here. I do decimals.
It's not a mixed fraction.
It's a mixed fraction if there's a whole number with a fraction.
You're a mixed fraction.
Otherwise, it would be 33 out of 8. I know this because I'm taking algebra this semester, and I've had to remember. I'm very mad about having to remember what mixed numbers. We're getting into imaginary numbers, and that's such a hard concept for me.
Why?
Because they're not real.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember. Okay. Will, we should probably get into spoiler territory on this movie that's 21 years old.
Yeah.
Although if you like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and you don't want to know what happens in the end of this movie that is such a dramatic departure from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, go watch it. It's on Shudder actually right now. So
also be aware that certainly reminiscent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but way more fucking graphic. Like
nah.
Way more gory and on-screen violent and yeah. Anyway, God damn it, House of 1,000 Corpses.
1,000 corpses.
I can't even keep up with my own gimmick.
I know. How dare you?
Spoiler
plot
territory.
Summary? Spoiler
yes,
territory.
Michelle, please give us that wonderful plot summary for House of 1,000 Corpses. 1000 corpses.
I just got so anxious about this. And here's the thing, not because I have to give a plot summary, but because I have so much adoration for this movie. And now I have to give a plot summary and like really amp it up for people who have not seen it. And I'm going to forget so much shit. This is packed full of plot imagery. Here's what you need to know, and that I'm not really going to recap, is that throughout this movie there are home videos of the family. What are they called in this? Because it's Firefly, Otis, Captain Spaulding. I don't think they have like a last name, do they? But okay, so this
Firefly,
family,
it's like Mother Firefly and
and Baby Firefly. So it's kind of the Firefly family.
I'm pretty sure it's the Firefly family. Yeah.
Yes.
Even though it's Otis Driftwood and Captain Spaulding.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are all Marx Firefly Brothers names, by the way.
Well then. Okay, so the Fireflies, they're a backwoods family. So we have Dwight Schrute and his girlfriend, and then another guy who wasn't from The Office and his girlfriend, and they're all going around trying to find roadside attractions, and they find Captain Spaulding. He's a clown. He has a little murder attraction ride, which I would be so interested in. And on this murder attraction ride, they learn about Dr. Satan. He had a PhD in Satanism. He graduated from the Fuck You University. I don't know where you get that kind of degree. Something online, probably. So he did human experimentations, and then I think they killed him and he disappeared, or else he just disappeared one day. Who knows where the fuck Dr. Satan is? That's the point. But they want to go out and try to find him. What they do find is Sherry Moon Zombie and half of her butt, because you do see half of her butt, and she's the only person who can do butt cleavage. And luckily for us, she does butt cleavage in all three of these movies, and then all the other movies except The Munsters, as far as I know, have Sherry Moon Zombie butt. And like this movie, in case you don't know, was written and directed by Rob Zombie. You can assume Sherry Moon Zombie is his wife. He loves his wife, and she loves the camera, and like, goddamn, thank you so much, Sherry Moon Zombie. Her character has the most grating laugh, and I love it. It adds to my love of this movie how fucking much I hate her maniacal, annoying laugh. But anyway, they find her. She's Baby Firefly, and their car breaks down, and he's like, well, my brothers can help you. And they're like, hot girl wants brothers to help with the car? Sounds great. So they go, and Dwight Schrute, he's enamored with her, and Dwight Schrute's girlfriend's not happy about that. And then they all agree to leave, but they can't leave because Bill Moseley's there, and he says no. And also Tiny's there, and he says no, and they all get knocked out. And then they wake up to terrible things. Dwight Schrute, the guy from The Office, he's a fish now. He has been turned into art, according to Bill Moseley's character, Otis Driftwood. He's like, hey, your boyfriend, he gave me such inspiration. And then you see like some flashbacks of that happening. And then you just see his body, and now he's half a mermaid. And that terrible way to, I hope when I'm murdered that I become something better than half a fish. Not even a full fish. Make me a full fish, like a fish my size with my face, please. I would prefer that over becoming half a fish. I mean, come on, where the fuck did my legs go? That would be upsetting. And then Tiny, he is clearly gonna have sex with this lady, but instead he sets her free because he's eaten his Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and he does not need her right now, but then she does get captured again and put in a cage, and it's implied that she's raped because a guy runs in there. And then there's another lady, and she is, I think, strung up in the barn. I don't know. They all have bad things happen to them. And then after going through this nightmare, the two girls and the one boyfriend are all still alive. Oh, also the cops showed up. One of the cops. Okay, so I'm always like, every time I see this, I'm like, oh, Rainn Wilson. I forgot he's in this. That's so cool. That's Dwight Schrute from The Office, right? Walton Goggins plays one of the cops. And that guy is the ghoul from the new Fallout series. Blew my mind. Oh my God.
Walton Goggins is in a zillion things.
I know, but I completely watching the new Fallout series and being like, oh yeah, it's that guy, and then completely forgetting that's the guy from House of a Thousand Corpses is just like a weird, those are very different media, and I think that's really fun. But yeah, so Walton Goggins, he gets killed after a very long pause, and you do learn later, not in this movie, that you gotta pause and wait for them to give out. You can see it in the eyes when they give up. I did rewatch Devil's Rejects and Three from Hell after watching this. I had to go see the trilogy again. So the one boyfriend, basically the entire group is alive except for Rainn Wilson. He was probably too expensive, so he didn't make it to the second half of the movie. One of the girls, she goes running and she gets murdered, and that's pretty cool. So that means that we're down to 2 characters to spend our time with, and they get put in a coffin. And this is where things get really weird. They're dressed as rabbits, put in coffins, lowered into the ground while weird chanting incantation music plays. And now they're just in this underground world. The girl gets separated from the guy. I can't remember if they go down in separate coffins or if something else happens. But either way, she's not with her boyfriend. And she meets some like creepy guys just living down here, also dressed as rabbits, who like try to assault her, but then stop assaulting her. And then she stumbles into like what is a weird crypt style shrine room. And there's a bunch of people there who have been experimented on. And in the corner, she sees Dr. Satan. He is like a terrifying puppet. He's got all this metal shit coming out of his arms, and he's doing some experimentation on her man, and her man does not like it. There's blood, there's a lot of pokey thingies, and now there's a guy who is clearly like created by Dr. Satan, and he's got this weird visual stuff. He's like half robot, and he comes after her. And eventually she makes it out of this situation. And also reminiscent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, she's walking along the road and somebody stops, and it's Captain Spaulding, the clown from the beginning. Wow, she's saved. And then Otis, redwood, driftwood, I always forget what kind of wood he is. Thank you, driftwood. Otis pops out of the back of the car, and then it's implied like she getting murdered. She's getting sent back to Dr. Satan. This is a great movie, and I just need on record before I finish my plot summary. Devil's Rejects, 2 things. The sequel. The lady who voiced Tommy Pickles from the Rugrats plays a sex worker, and it's so hard for me to watch those scenes because her voice is that of Tommy Pickles, and I can't watch her scenes. I get very upset because it sounds like a baby saying that. And then secondly, it has one of my favorite quotes from any movie of all time, and that is Captain Spaulding, the clown, looks at a kid and says, "What's the matter, kid? Don't you like clowns? Why? Don't we make you laugh? Don't you think we're fucking funny?" And then he says that the kid has to come up with a good reason for him to hate clowns by the time he gets back, or he's going to murder his whole family. And that's just really beautiful. House of a Thousand Corpses, and then also Devil's Rejects and Three from Hell. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much the film. Here's the interesting thing about this. I actually didn't know this, but while you were doing that plot summary, I was doing a little skimming of some Wikipedia here. Apparently, that whole ending with the crazy underground layer and the surgery victims and the monstrous Dr. Satan, that's not originally how this ended at all. Apparently, there was a much different ending, wasn't nearly as spectacular. Wikipedia suggests that the idea was just that the legend of Dr. Satan was just a ploy by the family to get victims there. Or there was also a period where Grandpa was going to be actually Dr. Satan, but he knew the ending wasn't super great, so he kind of deliberately made the ending not great, because he was like, when they see it, they'll be like, the movie's great, but that ending's not so good. And give me more money to shoot a crazier ending. And then they did this wild ending. Apparently, the movie went from an idea to production in like 3 months, which explains a lot, I think. But yeah.
On the other hand, I loved the second half because even though it is a completely different movie, I like that movie too. One of the things that really gets to me is human experimentation. That always gets under me, like, or under my skin. And like, this has that in some pretty dramatic ways, because these people like don't die, or they can die and then they get brought back to life. Like, these people are living down here, and that's extra scary than just like being experimented on and killed. It seems like he keeps them alive, and that's super weird.
Yeah, and I think a big part of why I find that last chunk of the movie, again, first of all, the tonal shift is very significant, and I find it very
Abrupt.
jarring. It's a very, very different kind of film at that point, even right down to when they have like the funeral procession, and Otis has the makeup on his face now, and he's wearing that really sort of like ostentatious red robe, and it's like some sort of like satanic ritual now, which that whole part of it, I haven't seen 3 from Hell, so I guess I can't say, but there's definitely no part of that whatsoever in The Devil's Rejects at all, right?
There's nothing like that in 3 from Hell either. It does follow more like
spoilers,
the first part of this movie.
Michelle.
I'm just saying that it's more of an actual movie that stays as a single movie. If you do want to see more that is similar to that, though, 31 by Rob Zombie is kind of close.
That's what I was going to say is not only was it such a dramatic shift, but also now I'm just like, well, I want way fucking more of that, right? Because it was, I mean, it's really well done. Like, it's interesting, wild shit. But now I'm just like, wait, what the fuck was all that? It's just this sudden like explosion of chaos. It's a completely different thing. And I didn't get satisfactory resolution to the movie that they started playing for me. I didn't get strong buildup and backgrounding of the movie they finished. I don't know. It just, because of the way I look at stories and the way I process stories, it was just too much. And I would have liked it to have been a little bit more cohesive, a little more coherent.
May I recommend rewatching Devil's Rejects?
I've seen Devil's Rejects a couple of times. One of my biggest problems with Devil's Rejects, and again, this is something that I know is part of horror, and it is what it is, and I don't begrudge anybody their taste. But Devil's Rejects is a very mean film. And I'm not really big on mean films these days.
It is a very mean film.
It's real fucking mean. Like, it's I will say this much. I had a whole new respect for Bill Moseley's performance as Otis Driftwood in this movie. He is fantastic here. I know there was a lot said about Sid Haig as Captain Spaulding. Excuse me, did I belch just briefly? Oh my god.
I thought you might have malfunctioned.
What's going on in my life? Holy shit, the wind just started kicking up like mad. Like, freak the dog out with me. Holy
mad
shit.
at you for burping.
Well, God's gonna have to get over it. But no, I thought Bill Moseley as Otis. Also, something that I never caught on until this time when I was watching it is I always thought it was just like part of his long stringy hair, but he's got like weird long stringy facial hair, but just like it's more than sideburns, but it doesn't connect in the middle, and it's just gross and fucking weird. I did really appreciate. Why am I into
him? Why am I into him?
Because it's Bill Moseley, right? I mean, the man is fantastic. Real nice guy too. I was really, he was so very friendly.
Like, not shy, but like way more introverted. And given how many of his characters are shouty, I mean, obviously he's an actor and a good actor, but like he was just like very reserved.
Yeah, he's a real mellow dude, but he was very open and accommodating when he was here at ValleyCon a couple of years ago. Stopped and chatted with all kinds of fans all throughout the convention. Real great guy, but he was awesome in this film. So yeah, I am glad that I went back and watched it again, because time has definitely look in 2003. I was like, if it's not Dario Argento or Lucio Fulci, I don't give a fuck. Like, I was so far up my own ass as just an elitist fucking horror asshole at that time.
Oh, back
Uh,
then? Not anymore?
oh, wow.
Shut
Wow.
up. I keyed.
Wow. There
I
is
make the
one shot
jokes.
in this movie that I remembered very clearly and was looking forward to seeing again because I was curious how I was going to respond to it, and I responded the exact same way. And it's that shot when Walton Goggins is down on his knees and Otis is
Mm-hmm.
standing above him, and they boom the camera up for like it's literally a 30-second shot before he pulls the trigger. And I was watching it and I was like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing. He's drawing this out to sort of build some tension. Like, oh, man, he's really drawing this out to build. I think it just went on way too long, right? I get what he was trying to do, but by the time he finally got to it, I was like, Jesus, can we move on already?
Wow. Rush the man. Murder's an
Yeah.
important thing. It's an art. It takes time.
Uh,
He's an artist. He tells you that right before he turns Dwight Schrute into a fish.
all he did was shoot the guy.
That's an art.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah,
I don't have a lot to say. I love it. It's shaped so much. I like how mean it is. This was definitely something that I had not been introduced to very much back in 2003, partially because I was 14 and partially because a lot of it did not exist yet. Still holds up. I've seen it so many times. I really enjoy it. Devil's Rejects, though, is like perfect horror movie. And if you like this and want more of the beginning of it, Devil's Rejects.
I do have one specific part of this movie where I was just like, all right, that's my kind of like, what the fuck, man, that's fucked up.
Ooh.
And it's when the one girl's dad shows up and they kill him and they peel his face off and
yes.
like dude's like dancing around in front of her wearing her dead dad's face.
Yeah, and chanting,
like, all right.
I can't remember what he says, but then Baby and Mama Firefly respond, "Who's your daddy?"
Yeah.
Over and over.
That sequence, I was like, all right, this is my vibe right here. That's fucked up. Was there one thing?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to ask, is there one thing in particular from this that you felt was like the crowning sort of horror set piece, the thing that fucked you up the most?
Outside of Dr. Satan, because that just like hits a nerve every time. The Fishman is super weird.
Yes.
It's so weird that he's like, hey, the rest of you will stay alive, but this guy in particular is now a fish. Like it's super weird. One thing that I love about this, you can see so much of Rob Zombie's music video influence in it.
Oh yeah.
And I love that. Like the little clips of the whole movies interspersed with everything else is very music video style. And I like how hyper stylized so much of this is.
I like that. Yeah, definitely where he cuts from like 35 millimeter to 16 millimeter. Just really sort of frantic editing, sort of montage moments.
Yeah.
Very.
It feels like something that if this family was making a movie about their lives, that's what they would do.
Right. There is like montage obviously has been a big part of film since the beginning of film, but there is a style that developed in the era of music videos that is just I do enjoy it when I see it. The technique on display here is great and definitely made you say, okay, I will at least be curious what this guy does next. But solid film, decently fucked up in a variety of ways, and tied into Halloween because it takes place on Halloween Eve and Halloween 1977. It doesn't really. This is probably the loosest. Like this one doesn't specifically involve Halloween in any way, but
they dress up in costumes and they do the ritual on Halloween. I think it's Halloween. Yeah,
that might be the thing. Maybe this whole thing was a ploy to get somebody to do that ritual. Yeah, you could be right.
Yeah, I like the part where they dig through the ditches and burn through the witches.
I prefer when they slam in the back of his Dragula.
Yeah, me too. That's a pretty cool part. That's my favorite Rob Zombie song. It's so good.
That's too bad. You got to go back
like
to those. Have you ever listened to like real early White Zombie? Like not MTV era White Zombie, like 1984, 1985 White Zombie?
I wasn't alive then. So
holy shit. Get you on
anything
YouTube.
that happened before I was born, fuck it.
Yeah, get on YouTube and I forget the name, so you'll have to maybe do a wiki. But listen to that very earliest White Zombie stuff, completely different, like weird noise rock sort of thing. But no, those.
I have Googled. I have a Google tab open, and I will find some.
Those, but the MTV era White Zombie stuff, especially Astro Creep, that record is so goddamn good.
I have made a note.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
And it's super and natural. Okay, I have found a single called Pig Heaven, and I will go listen to that.
Oh, good luck.
It's from 1985. Okay, cool. I will know that song after this.
All right.
One quick thing, JD,
yes.
just because I haven't been able to tell you this, and it's tangentially related. Spotify, somebody made an app that like builds you a room based on your music listening style, and like it just comes up with like this little generated room of like, here's the posters you would have on your wall, and here's like the type of computer you would have, and all this stuff. And I did it, and it gave me Metal Thrasher, and I laughed so hard because I have no idea how it came to that conclusion. The metalist thing I've been listening to lately is Asking Alexandria, and that's rock. That's not even metal. He just yells really hoarsely sometimes.
Oh, that's adorable.
So I have no idea, but I thought you would find that very funny because I'm like, I have to tell JD. That's upsetting.
Side note, by the way, I have been listening to, as long as you brought up metal, there's a band, I believe, from Denver or somewhere in Colorado called Blood Incantation that just put out their newest album. It's called Absolute Elsewhere. And it's basically like two very long songs, and it's like a weird hybrid of like Pink Floyd type prog and then just like heavy fucking death metal. And I'm mildly obsessed with it. Plus, there's the first song is called The Stargate, and if it was an LP, that would be side one, and it's like 20 minutes plus long overall, broken into 3 parts. Second side is called The Message, same sort of situation. But apparently they made a music video for the entire 20-some minute composition of The Stargate. I haven't had a chance to see it. I gotta go see it. You should probably see it too. More importantly, though, if you dig on death metal and you dig on, like, it's basically if Pink Floyd played death metal. I mentioned something about it on my Facebook, and Sam Wasted, our good friend Sam, he went and checked it out. He thought it was pretty damn good, and so I figured I'd tell the rest of you guys, go listen to Blood Incantation.
Well, as a fellow Metal Thrasher fan, I am obligated to check it out. Can't believe Metal Thrasher.
Well, it's not thrash, that's for sure. It's fucking death metal, but it's great.
Well, I'm a Metal Thrasher, and I bet I'll have no problem listening to death metal. I'll just have to take a break from my Taylor Swift playlist to check it out. Actually, what I've been listening to a lot lately is angry feminist music that I found on TikTok. There's some really good shit out there. And I'm just like, I was talking to Savannah. We know Savannah. She's great.
Yeah.
And I was like, Savannah, I have a really big problem. And that is there's a lot of good men suck a whole bunch and I want to be single type of music, but I'm happily married. And I'm having a very hard time with those two things existing at the same time. Like there's so many, like Women Don't Owe You Shit by Aston has been on repeat. And my husband's just standing in the corner frightened. Like, no, I know you don't, honey. I made you some toast. Like, he's such a nice man. And him, I might owe him things. But all other men, women don't owe you shit. Nah. It's a great song. As a Metal Thrasher, it's really my favorite right now.
It's so funny because you talk about these or these men suck songs and being married, and I know you know what I meant, but I immediately had this thought, And the way
Oh,
the
no.
thought came out sounds completely different and so much more terrible than I meant it. But my
Ooh.
immediate gut reaction was, yeah, but John is barely a man. And what I meant was in those awful man ways, right?
He's not
but
a
then
bro.
I just did, right. But I was just like, wow, what an incredibly mean thing. Yeah,
That's
but
very
John
funny,
is
though.
barely a man. But I mean, in the right, there's, oh God, what the fuck is wrong with my brain, Michelle?
I don't know. I knew what you meant. And you know what? He should take it as a compliment.
John, you're barely a man and we love you for it.
Yes, we do. And I will stop listening to angry feminist music when I'm not an angry feminist.
Absolutely. Halloween tree tomorrow. Michelle's got a lot to say. Right now, though, say goodnight, Michelle.
I do. Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShutter on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShutter.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShutter.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shutter is a production of Rat Factory Media.